According to Encyclopedia Britannica, botanically, a fruit is a mature ovary and its associated parts. It usually contains seeds which have developed from the enclosed ovule after fertilization. Although development without fertilization called parthenocarp is known, for example in bananas. Once we have full-size fruit, there are three different ways to categorize them. Of course, as we think about growth of a full-size fruit, we remember it came from a flower. It is appropriate to consider fruit types based upon their floral origins. It can be simple, aggregate, or multiple. Simple fruits are those which develop from a flower having either monocarpellary or polycarpellary syncarpous pistil. A single fruit develops from a flower. The mango is a drupe with an outer leathery skin, or exocarp, a fleshy mesocarp and a hard stony endocarp or pit surrounding the large seed. Native to India and Southeast Asia, this tree is grown throughout tropical regions of the world. It belongs to the sumac family along with poison oak, poison sumac, and cashew tree. The mesocarp, the edible part of the mango, is the nutritious fleshy part eaten between the skin and the seed. Aggregate fruits consist of several separate carpels of one Apocarpus genuissum. The fruit of a strawberry is called an accessory fruit because the fleshy pulp is derived from the receptacle of the flower. It is also an aggregate fruit because it consists of numerous small achens that develop from an Apocarpus genuissum. Strawberry is a false fruit. In false fruits, thalamus and other floral parts also show proliferation along with the development of the ovary wall. The edible part in strawberry is thalamus. Brownish achens are embedded over the surface of fleshy and edible thalamus. Multiple fruits consist of genuissia of more than one flower and represent a whole inflorescence, such as the fig and pineapple. The pineapple is a good example of a multiple fruit. It is a cluster of mature ovaries, each with accessory parts, including the receptacle and portions of the sepals and bracts. Pineapple is a cirrhosis type of composite fruit that develops from an intercalary spike type of inflorescence. The ovaries of the flowers forming the fruit are not conspicuous, and each polygonal portion represents a flower. Thus, all parts of a flower are edible, including rachis or peduncle, bracts, perianth, and pericarp. Now, we move on to the classification of fruit based on pericarp texture. The fruit wall or pericarp is divided into three regions: the inner layer or endocarp, the middle layer or mesocarp, and the outer layer or exocarp. These regions may be fleshy or dry or any combination of the two. Our first sample is tomato. Although it is called a vegetable, the tomato is technically a botanical fruit referred to as a berry. Most of the interior tissue of a true berry is soft and fleshy. The edible part of tomato is exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp along with the seeds. In both the tomato and lemon, the ovary is multilocular and the ovules are borne on the central placenta. This means that tomato has axile placentation. Our second sample, the watermelon, is a good example of a pepo, a berry with a hard, thick rind. The most popular part of the watermelon is the pink flesh, but like its cousin, the cucumber, the whole thing is edible. This includes the green scraps that usually end up in the compost bin. The rind, which is the green skin that keeps all the waterlogged, delicious fruit safe, it is completely edible. Watermelon has a parietal placentation in which ovule either develop on the inner wall or on the surface of slight outgrowths of the wall of the ovary. Compounds in the pits are responsible for the aroma given off when the peels are bruised or ground up. The fleshy interior or endocarp is composed of separate sections or carpels filled with fluid-filled sacs that are specialized hair cells. These are juicy and form the edible part of the fruit. Lemon has axile placentation. It occurs in the carpellary syncarpous ovary. Inward growth of margins of carpels forms a multicarpellary condition which contains an axis in the center. Peach, our fourth sample, is a fruit tree of the rose family or Rosaceae, grown throughout the warmer temperate regions of both the northern and southern hemispheres. The fruit is called a drupe because it is composed of three distinct layers: an outer skin or exocarp, a fleshy middle layer or mesocarp, and a hard woody layer or endocarp surrounding the seed. The peach develops from a single ovary that ripens into both a fleshy, juicy exterior that forms the edible part of the fruit. The lower pit has been sectioned to show the thick woody layer or endocarp surrounding a single seed. This fruit has axile placentation. Pear is a mild sweet fruit with a fibrous center. The seed-bearing ovary or core is surrounded by a thick fleshy hypanthium that is not part of the pericarp. It derived from the fusion of the bases of the perianth segments, petals and sepals. Some references state that the hypanthium may also contain tissue from the receptacle. In the poem, the thickened fleshy hypanthium is fused with the ovary wall or core. The outer skin of a pear is a multiseriate epidermis of the hypanthium surrounded by a waxy cuticle. Contrary to some references, it is not the exocarp of a ripened ovary. When you eat this, you're primarily biting into the hypanthium tissue. You may also consume some of the outer ovary, which is the exocarp and mesocarp, that is fused with the thick hypanthium. Since the fruit contains tissue not derived from the pericarp, it is called an accessory fruit. A pear has an axile placentation. The first sample for dry fruits is the legume. The legume splits along two lines of dehiscence following maturation and drying. The legume-type fruit is derived from a simple ovary or one carpel with two rows of ovules. This type of fruit structure is characteristic of peas, beans, and peanuts. The peanut is one of the few legumes that does not split open when ripe. This is probably because the fruit of the peanut develops in the soil rather than in the air. People in the developed countries commonly consume the pods and seeds of legume vegetables, but in tropical Asia and Africa, the leaves are often eaten as well. It has marginal placentation, with ovules borne on the wall along the ventral suture of a simple ovary.
Another type of the dehiscent fruit is the follicle. It is derived from a single carpel and split along one seam in the ovary. One example is the milkweed, also called as Lycopersicum esculentum. It is a dry fruit with a paracial placentation. Milkweed is light green and has roughly textured skin. The fruit is rounded near the stem and tapers into a point at the tip. Inside the dry fruit are numerous seeds arranged in an overlapping pattern. Each seed is unliterally bearded with a long tuft or silky white hair. When mature, the milkweed fruits turns brown and bursts, releasing the bearded seeds. Another type is the capsule. It is derived from two or more carpels splitting in one of four different ways: scyptical as in banaba, loculocidal as in jute, perucidal as in tobacco, and transverse as in gulaciman or kamantige. One example is the malunggay, also known as Moringa oleifera. It is a basal dry fruit with a marginal placentation. Moringa seeds are obtained from the pods of the moringa plant or the drumstick tree. Fresh and raw moringa seeds are quite tender, but as soon as they get dried, they become hard and start to resemble small beans. They are grayish-white in color with unique wing-like structures. They can be steamed, boiled, or roasted for various purposes. Another type of the dehiscent fruit is psyllic. It has two carpels which separates at maturity, leaving a persistent partition wall. One example is the rape seed, also known as Brassica napus. Its origin is simple, with a parietal placentation. Rapeseed is a bright yellow flowering member of the family Brassicaceae, cultivated mainly for its oil-rich seed, which naturally contains appreciable amounts of toxic uric acid. And now let's move on to the indehiscent fruits. It is the fruits not splitting at maturity. One type of it is the achene. It is one-seeded with pericarp attached to the seed coat at only one point. Sunflower is an example, also called as Helianthus annus, with basal placentation. Sunflower seeds are technically the fruits of the sunflower plant. There are two main types of sunflower crops. One type is grown for the seeds you eat, while the other, which is the majority formed, is grown for the oil. Sunflower seeds have a mild nutty flavor and a firm but tender texture. They are often roasted to enhance the flavor, though you can also buy them raw. Sunflower seeds come from the large flower heads of the sunflower plant. The edible variety has a mild nutty flavor. Another type of the indehiscent fruits is the caryopsis or green, one seeded with pericarp fully fused to seed coat. An example is the corn, also called as maize, with basal placentation. Corn kernels are the fruits of corn, called maize in many countries. Maize is a grain, and the kernels are used in cooking as a vegetable or a source of starch. The kernel comprise endosperm, germ, pericarp, and tip cup. 1 ear of corn contains roughly 800 kernels in 16 rows. Another one is samara or winged fruit. It is 1 to 2 seeded fruit with a wing-like outgrowth. Big leaf maple seeds is one example, also known as Acer macrophyllum. Its origin is simple and has axile placentation. Big leaf maple seeds are born on pubescent double samaras with wings from 1.4 to 2 inches long. Seeds are triangular or oval in shape. There are 2,700 to 4,000 seeds per pound. Seeds ripen early in September and October and are dispersed by the wind from October through January. Another type of indehiscent fruit is nut. It is one-seeded derived from a compound pistil. Pericarp is hard and thick with a cup at its base. One example is the acorn or oak nut, also called as Quercus ruber. It has a simple origin and axile placentation. The acorn or oak nut is the nut of the oaks and their close relatives. It usually contains a single seed, occasionally 2 seeds, enclosed in a tough, leathery shell and bored in a cup-shaped cupule. And now let's go on to the accessory fruits. It is the fruits that develop from the another part of the flower and not from the ovary. An accessory fruit is a fruit in which some of the flesh is derived from some adjacent tissue exterior to the carpel. A perfect example for this is the fleshy part of apple from receptacle. An apple is scientifically known as Malus domestica. It has a simple origin and axile placentation. An apple is an edible fruit produced by an apple tree. Apple trees are cultivated worldwide and are the most widely grown species in the genus Malus. Apple seeds and many other fruit seeds or pits have a strong outer layer resistant to digestive juices. But if you chew the seeds, amygdalin could be released in the body and produce cyanide. Small amounts can be detoxified by enzymes in your body. However, large amounts can be dangerous. Placenta. Placenta is the tissue within the ovary to which an ovule is attached. Placentation refers to the formation, type, and structure or arrangement of the placenta. The function of placentation is to transfer nutrients, respiratory gases, and water from material tissue to a growing embryo, and in some instances to remove waste from the embryo. The first type of placentation is parietal. It is when the placentae are on the ovary wall. One example is the papaya, which is also known as carica papaya. It is a fleshy fruit called pepo, a special type of berry with hard rind. Papayas are shaped similar to pears and can be up to 20 inches or 51 centimeter long. The skin is green when unripe and orange when ripe, while the flesh is yellow, orange, or red. The fruit also has many black seeds, which are edible but bitter. The next type of placentation is a free central, or the ovules form on the central column. An example for this is the bell pepper, which is also known as Capsicum annum. It is a fleshy fruit called berry and has the ovary wall fleshy with one or more carpels containing one to many seeds. Bell pepper is also called sweet pepper or capsicum. Pepper cultivar in the nightshade family, grown for its thick, mild fruits. Bell peppers are used in salads and in cooked dishes and are high in vitamin A and vitamin C. The large furrowed fruits are technically berries and can be green, red, yellow, or orange. The next type of placentation is axile, in which it arises in the axis of the ovary that has several locules. One example for this is the orange, also called as Citrus sinensis. It is a fleshy fruit called Hesperidium, another special type of berry with a leathery rind. An orange is a type of citrus fruit that people often eat. Oranges are a very good source of vitamin C. Orange juice is an important part of many people's breakfast. The sweet orange, which is the kind that are most often eaten today, grew first in South and East Asia, but now grows in lots of parts of the world. And I think it is one of the most common, and we all love this orange fruit. The last type of placentation is the basal. It is when the placentae arise from the base. A perfect example for this is avocado, also called as Persia americana. It is a fleshy fruit called drupe or stone fruit, one-seeded fruit derived from a single carpel with a stone endocarp, usually surrounded with a fleshy mesocarp. An avocado is a bright green fruit with a large pit and dark leathery skin. They are also known as alligator pears or butterfruit. And they are turning up in everything from salads and wraps to smoothies and shakes. I think many of us love avocado flavor. And as we can see in the picture, the seed is covered with a seed coat. I think that's all for the types of placentation and the end of the discussion about fruits. Thank you and have a good day. And now, let's go to the fruits according to their types of placentation. Placentation is the manner in which placentae are distributed or arranged in the ovary placenta. Placenta